MPLA has started this webinar series on April 2020, and today we have the 6th online webinar invited talk on the topic the library of the future, impact of COVID-19. And the speaker is Professor Ramesh Kaur, a legend in library and information science, a great personality, and one of the most dynamic library science professionals. Thank you. MPLA thanks Professor Gaur for accepting our invitation to deliver a talk on MPLA platform. So Professor Gaur doesn't need any introduction, but first of all, introduce him, and for this I request our Honorable President MPLA Dr. Prabhat Pandey to introduce him. Prabhat sir, can you hear me? I think there is some issue with Prabhat sir. I think he's got on the line. So I request Professor Ramesh Gaur to please start his sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Sandeep. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So good afternoon, everybody, all my professional colleagues. I wish many more could have joined because technology limitation, we have not able to have all who are interested, but I'm sure Sandeep recording will be uploaded. So before starting this presentation, let me say something. I always feel proud of being a librarian, and my entire 30-year professional career, I always lived libraries. I have dream of library, and always have a passion. I never considered this as a job. I always consider this as my passion. So whenever you want to do something, you want to work in any field, passion is very important. So today, when we are facing this crisis because of this COVID-19 coronavirus, everybody is affected all over the world. Entire globe is facing this situation, and this spread is not just in India, all over the world. More than 70% of the population is under lockdown, and such lockdown, which is a rare occasion, I think, in our lifetime or even our ancestors' lifetime, such
good search strategies because physically you are not involved. You cannot help a user, and then also different kind of authentication and authorization. How to really justify which contents are original, which are not fake. So all these things should be properly understood. You should have a remote access technology. You should have like search discovery services. You should have good teaching learning aids. You should have research data management tools, how to, and then definitely server and storage. So this should be these are the current needs, and it will be more relevant and more important in the future. When we talk about digital library of the future, these tools are going to play a very important role. Now, what are the steps involved in creating a digital library? You digitize, or you may have born digital contents. You deposit in a particular archival system, you manage them, you preserve them, and then you disseminate over a particular channel. So, the important feature of a digital library, I did not to explain, you all are important eminent librarians. I'm going to talk about various kind of the metadata standards. You are familiar with that. Like basically now, my focus is to let you know. Please switch off your mic. Somebody's mic is disturbing. So, how to like what a user is doing with the digital technology? You want to gather literature, You want to record certain kind of references to attend classes, classroom lectures, because after classroom, library all started. This, you want to discuss a PhD topic, synopsis with the supervisor. I think, Sandeep, you should mute all those people. Like,
Okay, sir.
to keep the current academic debates, to attend conferences, to tell about. So all these are the requirements of the user community. Now, how to basically communicate with the user community? You have to have different channels, and these channels which we are talking about teaching and learning tools. See, I have been using these tools almost more than 7 to 8 years. So now it has become, these tools have become very important because of this pandemic situation. Earlier, when I'm member of many international committees, so meetings are organized using for these tools on regular interval of time. So librarians have to familiarize with all those learning tools. You have user orientation program. You have to conduct kind of some training workshop. You have to conduct different kind of awareness workshop. You have to communicate to the users. Even you need to have a meeting with your staff. So these tools are not just for teachers or for meeting. These are tools for remotely working from home. These tools are remotely explaining your resources to your user community. So now current age librarians or digital library of the future should also integrate these tools in learning tools. Know about all those things. Like Google Meet has recently announced it's going to be free. Some of them are having free version, some of them are having some kind of cost involved in it. So choose according to your requirement. So these tools are going to play a very important role in digital library of the future. Now I'm going to very intentionally going to talk about this education 4.0. See, Internet of Things have given a new idea about education 4.0. And what is this education 4.0? It is the future of education. So here, this education 4.0, I will not speak more on that, but I will give you some idea that this is going to be a different education system what we are seeing today. And that education 4.0 is perfectly fitting the spectrum of current situation. Like how this education 4.0 is going to make an impact. It is going to focus more on anywhere, anytime access. It is not necessary for a student to attend a class or to come to the library or to come to a particular location. Anywhere, anytime, he or she can have access to the resources, teaching material, learning material. It should be personalized. We focus on individual needs. And most importantly, it should be flexible delivery system. It's not be a very rigid or restrictive system. And teachers are going to play a role of mentors, not the educators. It should be based on practical applications. And it will be more project oriented. And student will be responsible. Student ownership is very important that. So evaluation, not examination system. Like currently we are struggling to have online examination or examination. But if you have a proper evaluation system, which is being advocated in education 4.0, then you are going to understand what is this education need of this particular hour. And education 4.0, there are something more. It will be more focused on e-learning tools, personalized learning, bring your own device culture. It will be project-based learning, project-based working, and mentoring is going to be very important in this particular education 4.0. There are some of the other characteristics of education 4.0. I think you should read it. I've already given this PowerPoint presentation to Pravas to upload on the website. Anybody can see it. I don't have any copyright on that. So with this academic life 4.0, you as a life really think of understanding that this education 4.0 is going to be aligned with libraries 4.0. So now you should work on methodology, on the tools, And digital library of the future is to fulfill the need of education 4.0. And you should understand what is education 4.0. Now let's talk about anytime, anywhere access. What is important in anytime, anywhere access? Resources. Why these are important? Ease of access. You no need of visit physically. Everything is one click away. Easy to store, read, carry, whatever. Easy to track and usage. Huge information reservoirs. One small pen drive can have large information. It is regularly updated, and many times multimedia format in that multiple formats. And this provide quick information, quick delivery, provide various search options, provide special it's very easy to provide services like SDA, alert services. It is very easy to provide useful a citation and save the time and the space. And these e-resources are perfectly fulfilling all five laws of Ranganathan's, like it may be save time, save space. Every reader is e-resource, every e-resource a reader. E-resources are for you. So, in real sense, all these things are fulfilling all Ranganathan's law. Open access, you all are aware of that. I'm only talking that you should basically understand this, and as a librarian, you should prepare a certain kind of resource list. Now, how many of are you aware about Internet Archive, Hathi Trust, uh, World Digital Library, World Global Library, National Digital Library of India? There are thousands of such libraries exist for different kind of library. There are school library, digital libraries. There is a public libraries. There is a research library. There is a academic library. So all kind of libraries are having open and free services available. So my saying that as a librarian, first you should learn, develop a resource list, and if that resource list is available on your website, it will be easy for users. Now, in this pandemic situation, if you have provided all those lists to them, it is very easy to. The example I quoted for JNU, I am able to search that book from uh, Internet Archive. So that book, which is available in Internet Archive, and similarly you can serve your user. So open access resources are going to play key role in your next such situations or in this pandemic situation. And if this situation continues to exist for long, my suggestion to all of you, immediately work out the list of open access resources in your area of subject, because there will be a list of open access resources. Medical science may have different lists, social sciences may have different lists, humanities may have different lists. So as a librarian, you should be very well aware of open access systems and must be well prepared to provide access to open access resources. It is beyond data directory of open access journal or directory of open access books. These are the two limited resources. But apart from, there are thousands of such resources available. And the best way to provide is your interactive library website. Every librarian should learn about Drupal or any good library development tool, website design tool. You can identify a staff. See, this JNU library was developed by the person who just referred, I referred in the, who is currently in a college library in MP. He did design this entire digital library, and now the staff of JNU is maintaining this Drupal library, Drupal design, the website design in Drupal library. It's a very interactive. So see the difference between the website I joined and now when I left. This is the difference, that how a digital website is important, and it regularly provide you. The first technology which is very important for remote access, and particularly in this pandemic situation, is remote access technology. There are various ways of dealing with remote access technology. There are number of ways you can, number of technologies are available. There are point-to-point VPN and different technologies. Some of the examples, this is provided by OCLC, and in India, Informatics India is marketing it. It's a very nominal price. I think it's not more than 1 lakh rupees per annum cost, and it is excellent tool. we implemented in JNU, and whatever JNU resources are now being accessed with this, is still working as a very good tool in, and a number of libraries in the world are using Ethernet proxy. This is, you can provide access to your n number of users. Like all 8,000 students of JNU were provided user account. Because what I did, this their email IDs were connected with these email IDs were connected with event proxy. So you need not to do anything. The same email ID which was provided by JNU to the student or to the faculty, the same, they were using the same email ID. So it was easy, same password, same email ID, no need of any user account, nothing else. It is very easy and very simple applications to do it. And that is also on the cost of one journal. The cost of one journal may be 1 lakh rupees. Why people hesitate in implementing such technologies? 1 lakh rupees is nothing. And every library should have this kind of technology. Open Athens, it is also an option, but expensive option and having certain limitation also. Uh, I think there are a number of other. This is also this is open access to Civolith. VPN technology is one option. There is some Indian product, remote access is also available. So you choose whatever you want. So digital library of the future must have remote access in place. Without that, your libraries, digital libraries of no use. Okay. So now next move to the another good facility required in accessing anywhere, anytime access. See, basically now internet is having so much information. Google provide thousands of references. Now, in library, you are having number of databases, you have a institutional repository, you have a digital repository. Now, there are so many. Like in JNU, that time we were subscribing 72 databases. So, a student has to go 72 link, has to go library catalog separately, has to go ETD repository separately. So, in that context, this technology is one of the most progressing and most important technology. If you see worldwide, now because of so much information available, searchers are really frustrated. They don't want to search. They want relevant answers. They want in a very simplified manner, and they want a particular relevant information. So user behaviors are changing. So if user behavior are changing, your policy should change. Digital library of the future should provide simplify the things. It should not make complicated. And what is the simplest search in today's world? Google. Very simple, easy, fast. There may be some other issues with the Google, but it is very simple. So to overcome these problems, in library field there are certain kind of search facilities like federated search is the one in which you can integrate all your library databases, catalog, and everything in a single search. In federated search, there is a direct real-time search. When you are making a query, your search is directly going to the publisher's databases or your library catalog. It is doing the way just like Google. Like you are going to this is a kind of Google surfing also. When you are searching, every site is searched and then results are being compiled and arranged in the relevancy ranking. There are sometimes the server speed is slow, sometimes the indexing technique used by the database is not correct. So what happens? Like sometimes you are not getting very accurate result, and also sometimes results getting result is slow. Speed is slow, server speed is slow. So all this search is affected by the quality of the server, the quality of the resources available, indexing system used by that particular resources. So to overcome that, a new system developed by the many companies, which is called discovery services. This is a very easy service, easy things to do, single entry point, and meta search concept has been introduced in it. So like how it works in web skill discovery services, a consolidated index is developed by the service provider like AppSco or Procast. They are a service provider. They have developed AppSco Discovery Services or something. So they are harvesting the data from all these servers, and they have developed a pre-built harvesting and indexing system. Like when you are searching, you are not going to Procast directly. You are not going to your catalog directly. You are not going to MLA bibliography directly. You are searching this consolidated index, which is called meta search also. So, result of that, when you are getting result search, you are uh, getting very fast, and also you are not affected by the speed of the server. And sometimes certain kind of uh, these tools database not available under meta search. So in that case, you have a combination of, like many service provider, what they have done, there is a combination of federated search and Baptist discovery search. So this Baptist scale discovery speed is fast, results are accurate because they are designing indexing system. It is a post decided post index kind of database indexing system. So your work is done fast. Any kind of such material can be integrated, and it's a complete discovery to your resources. Complete Google-like search to your library resources. It may be open source. It may be, you can ask service provider to link such open source also. You can ask them to link Internet Archive. You can ask them to link Happy Trust. You can ask them to link other different in this particular integration system. You can ask your library catalog, your all kind of ebooks or digital repository, journal databases, and through link resort where it can be the perfect solution to you. So this discovery service, how will you get the result? By arranging in terms of relevancy ranking. These are the kind of, like, this is a screenshot where you have results from the books, from the pieces, from your library catalog, from SVR, from Biley. So in this manner, what result you are getting, everything is integrated, and finally you are getting a book from catalog, journal article from a Springer, journal article from Biley, or an ebook from other publisher. So, and you can refine this search by modifying it by year-wise, only full text. So you can do whatever you can do in a Google, but the difference between this search and your search is that Google provide everything. Here, the only resources which you want. Your user will get access to only those resources which your user want. So that is the search people need. That is the library of the futures. There are a number of such discovery services are available. JNU library was the first one to implement in terms of university library. Now many other universities and institutions have implemented. There is someone from Procast, Promo from MaxLibris. Promo is now Procast marketing both. Then there is a Viewfind, which is a open source discovery. You can try if you are good in technology. So this is a screenshot of this single window search we implemented at JNU. And by combining this with remote access, it can result in a highly used resources. See, this is the difference between when we implemented this in 2012 and in 2015. There is a 3,704 percentage increase in terms of access to the resources. You can imagine, and this also helps you in many other ways, like knowing the trend, which month how many downloads were done, which is the peak time when students are most doing. This also helps in your subscription, like usage statics of your own resources. You should not depend only on publishers' usage statics. This can also help you in understanding that which database is used by how many people, which month how many, and total download and all those things. So this can also help you in trend of usage also. And institutional repositories also very important. If you have your own publication under institutional repository, and if that you can access through remote access, this is another important thing which in this situation can be helpful. Now, I'm also talking beyond your library resources. Digital library of the future is not restricted to your resources only. You have to look beyond your library resources. What all is available in the universe? So, whenever you want to search such things, where you go to Google. Your users will also go to Google. But do you trust Google? I never trust Google. Google is not trustworthy in terms of giving best result, most relevant result, best authenticated result, because Google does not guarantee the information is fake or not. Google does not guarantee information is peer reviewed or not. I was searching for top open access journals, and result was Omics International was the first one to search. Why Omics International was the first one in the result? Because Omics International is paying to Google. There are a number of ways Google search can be influenced on the basis of mass search. Smart people can bring their own product and services in the top ranking of Google search. It is very easily possible. People know how to manipulate that. Although Google keeps on inventing, but I still believe, and I have mentioned this several times, Google provide access to just 15 to 20% web contents. Rest 80 to 85% web contents are not accessible to Google. Now, what are these contents? These are called deep web. Deep web, which is referred also a invisible web, or it is also referred as a hidden web, and this large, and the size is huge. If you see the size of deep web, it is thousands of times higher than the surface web, Google web. So what Google can search is a limited part of the resources. So now how to search this large, deep resources? Do you know? So first you should train yourself, and then you should train your users. Believe me, on the basis of my experience, I keep on talking to, I deliver talks more to the academic community than to the libraries. And I found they are ignorant about these deep web resources. They don't know how to search it. So this is a good opportunity for the librarians of the future, and digital library of the future is something going to play a key role in this deep web search. How to search this? You know Federated search, you know Google searching, and there is also a meta search. So all the using these technologies, different kind of specialized search engines have been designed by the various people, and these search engines have been divided into different categories. There is a semantic search tools and databases, which can help you in searching many of the relevant resources like Zotero, Freebase, PowerSet, Cartoon. All these lists have been provided. Similarly, there is a meta search engine. Many meta search engines, academic like World Career Guide, Fizzle.com, Workfile, Cursey, Infomine. All these are the meta search engines. So you can guide your users to look for it and find out these kind of search engines. Then journal search engines. There are academic search engines. Google Scholar, you should not use Google, you should use Google Scholar. Google Scholar is a WorldCat, Base Plus, directory of open access journals, directory of open access books, virtual learning center, directory of all these are internet archive, all these are academic search engines. They provide most authenticated information. It is they don't provide you fake information. They provide you only information which is well tested or peer reviewed. Scientific search engines. These different science.gov or PubMed and all those scope, all these are scientific search engines. You can design your own custom search, on search engines by customizing using these tools. There are different kind of collaborative information in databases. We should look into that. There are a number of open access search engines, Corebase. They index only authenticated databases and resources. And we talk about cultural heritage. Similarly, the same problem in cultural heritage. Open data is not easily available. So, for libraries who are in libraries or cultural institutions, have to really look into creating visibility of their resources. That is very important. The museum, libraries, and archives, hardly their data is accessible over the net. And this current lockdown period, most of the users are unable to access those libraries, museums, and archive databases. So a lot of work has to be done. So digital library of future cannot be complete in India, and we have data from all the fields. So we are lacking
Hello.
data and humanities. Now, when we talk about data management, there are different kind of data visualization tools available. There is a web publishing tool, there is a data managing tool. All these things need to be prepared. When we talk about how to create an institutional repository, I will give you some example. Repositories, we have Shodhganga and Krisi Prabha, which provide access to the large number of university system. But you should digitize all your thesis and dissertation. And you can provide in multiple platforms. It should be accessible in your catalog. It should be accessible over DSpace, and you can be part of as well. I remember when I digitized all thesis and dissertation of JNU. You should be happy to know that that time only 1,000 data was available. Now it is more than 2 lakhs. Besides, one thing which I want to is that you should look beyond just your library. Like this was a thesis tracking system developed in JNU when I was there. Under this thesis tracking system, a concept of electronic thesis was evolved. So students were supposed to submit the PDF file of thesis. No DVD, no CD, nothing. They have to upload in this database, and that CD was coming to the library. The library was just checking all those records and then also verifying, and after that it was going for examination, for evaluation. After evaluation, the notification was generated electronically, and even vice chancellor was nominating those examiner automatically. And finally, when this thesis was awarded, we were directly downloading thesis from this database, and a complete repository was developed using this Virtua, and it was sent to Shodhganga, and also, and there are a number of report systems in this possible to any screenshot can help you in understanding how important was that to have this kind of system. So you people should think of connecting, engaging yourself with the research department in these kind of endeavors, and library should feel that that is not their. This is a very much their job, and this digital library feature can help a lot. And definitely integrate your all research support system in that. Tools like Grammarly, plagiarism detection software, reference management tools like EndNote, Mendeley, Zestero, all these should be integrated in a digital library of the future. And most importantly, you should provide research guides. Some of you who are subject experts in certain area, and also develop a gateways. If you want to see the example of good research guide and gateways, you can go to Thapar Institute of Engineering website where I have seen Sriram has developed some good research guides and gateways. And as a subject librarians, we should provide digital reference services. See, a virtual reference service or digital reference services could have been the most important thing currently in this pandemic situation. Your user could have contacted you over phone or electronically. If you have developed an instant messaging system, chat system, some of your experts should be available to them. So when we talk about research data management is also important. When we talk about Ask a Librarian, Ask a Librarian is something very, very relevant in this kind of situation. Like they can electronically connect it with you, and you have a live session, Q&A session, and many of the problems can be resolved with the help of subject experts and librarians. Even you can think of connecting some of your faculty and some of your students in this particular activity. And some of the faculty members will be happy to answer some of the queries. Every time you may not be aware of each and everything. So take help from the experts. So this is another very important service during this particular thing. Electronic delivery is very important. How to, because in this kind of situation you don't have means to send it, print it, or physical form. You have to deliver electronically over different channels. So different kind of email alert services or electronic delivery systems should be developed. You should have special collection for the person with visuality who are definitely not, they are also suffering because of this. So what are the resources for, like Sugma Pustakale or Bookshare, different kind of tools, and all your resources should be accessible. Digital library should be, digital library of future should be fully accessible. Means all the files should not be image file. It should be searchable file. So the student, blind student or faculty or people can use the screen reading software to decipher those into audio form. Newsletter and regular updates from libraries are very important. And you should be very well connected with this all OER and all these kind of resources, like NPTEL has developed something. Many other channels. There are a lot of online courses using MOOC and Moodle. So you should provide all the links and help your university or institution in developing these kind of tools. Virtual tour of library is the most important in today's situation. Like recently, if you remember, on 24th, we organized a seminar on cultural heritage webinar, and in this I launched the virtual library tour of Kalaniti by launching a video. You can have a video, infographics. There are a number of programs you can organize. Like I will give you an example. This was not in pandemic situation. This was I did when I was in jail. I connected this author Yasmin from Oxford University and this Raghu Karnad from Bangalore. And it was a virtual book discussion. These are the students and faculty of JNU, and I organized in JNU library. And this virtual book discussion was about like people sitting remotely. One is sitting in Oxford University, London, UK. One is sitting in Bangalore, and students are sitting in New Delhi, in JNU campus. So this remotely, virtually connected program I am organizing 2015. So you can understand like this kind of situation demand such programs. You should think of organizing more and more. Many people are organizing now, but and then different kind of alternative tools. These are important. But we need smart libraries. Because if you want to develop a smart library, you need to be smart libraries. I have full confidence in my fellow colleagues. Only thing they need to understand few things. First, you understand you are a 24/7 library. You should read regularly. Even to make this presentation, I have read something. You should be proactive, creative, and innovative. Should be a teaching research librarian. You should be a trend setter, out of box thinking, a friend, philosopher, and guide. I have thousands of my colleagues who love me, who respect me, who do all kind of things. But there are few who always criticize, who always try to find fault in you. So you should not worry about that. I always say, listen, don't respond to it. You just respond by your work. Somebody is criticizing you, don't respond verbally. Show them that you are worthy of doing it. It may be a librarian, it may be. Hello?
Sir, please go ahead. Please go ahead, sir. Yeah, sorry.
You may be a librarian, the criticism may from your library students, maybe from somebody teaching, somebody from this, somebody from your home family. Should not worry about that, but always focus in your work. If you are a senior librarian, encourage your colleagues, your young people, your young colleague to develop themselves. Don't afraid if they are more knowledgeable to you. Bring them in the front. Give them respect. See, if you give respect to others, one thing I have learned in my life, do your job. Don't worry about the consequences. It may be good or bad. Never regret in your life. Whatever you do with your sense of wisdom and always feel that you did the right thing. And always learn. Learning is a lifelong process. So a smart librarian can change the fate of a library. And people respect you, my dear. I can tell you thousands of people in this world have very high regard for me because of my work, not because they are my relative or I have done something great to them. Except doing my job, I have not done anything to them. I never given a gift to any of my bosses or anybody. I always given them good service. So become a good smart librarian and develop a digital library of the future. At the same time, our library science courses need to change. I want to thanks all presenters whose material I have used for this presentation. I want to conclude it here by saying that I think digital library of the future is something which round the corner, and we should take this opportunity. We should not think of just such situation repeated again. Such libraries are the need of the hours, and I think we should be prepared for any kind of such situation. And I'm sure I have full confidence in you. You can do it. So with these words, I want to close my presentation. If there is any question answer, Sandeep would like to have anything, I'm available. I'm available.
Hello, Sandeep.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Sandeep.
तो बोल दीजिए आ जाएगा.
Yes, please.
हाँ सर, yes, I can hear you. Yes,
Hello, Sandeep.
हाँ, yes, sir. Hello, yeah, sir. Yeah. So, hello. Yeah, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear everybody.
For your nice presentation. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. Digital library of the future. Sir, with your permission now, we would like to have start question answer session. And I request Dr. Seema Divedi to first take few questions from the chat box. Yes, Seema, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes,
You
Seema.
have, thank you, sir. You have enhanced our knowledge by a very excellent, exquisite information effect, as well as inform us about now best we how can we set up our digital library as well as smart library. In chat box there is one question from Sanmati Jain: why IITs and NITs are not submitting their thesis in Sodh Sir?
Very good question, and I think very pertinent. And I think my request to all IIT librarians, they should take lead because they need to convince the authorities of IITs that by putting, see, when I implemented JNU thesis project, many faculty and students were totally against it. They don't want their thesis to be put under Sodh Ganga. I did a lot of efforts in getting it done. So I strongly believe a librarian better know how important is visibility of such collection in a repository like Sodh Ganga. And if I given an opportunity, there are hundreds of reasons to explain them, to convince them that by not allowing access, you are doing injustice to both your PhD student as well as to other. And it is this, and even government of India should take a note of it. They should give directive that they may keep some embargo period, or if something is under patent or something, they should keep those only restricted. But they cannot have a blanket restriction on access to thesis. And I think IIT librarians and government of India and NDLI or Sodh Ganga authorities, implement should take up it. I will be happy to help them any way they want. These things should be available.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Thank you, sir. One more question is from Vandana Khandelwal. Is WooFind software reliable to use?
Yes, Viewfind software is fully reliable to use. And I understand InflimNet has developed something for some university library. I saw some news item where BHU library has been provided some integrated system. I'm not sure, but I think software is reliable. It depends upon like, but it requires some kind of technical skills to understand and to do some kind of program. So everybody, without learning it, you cannot implement it. It's just like you use Drupal for website designing. Similarly, you can use Bluefind for the development of your discovery services, remote access discovery services.
Thank you, sir. One question is from Dr. Hemant Kumar Sahu. He is saying we are using EZ proxy. How we can take uses from EZ proxy?
In EZ proxy, you have to design certain kind of add-ons. Usage statics. I suggest, because usage statics, what I have shown you is from the discovery services, AppSco discovery services, not from EZ proxy. But EZ proxy is also having certain add-on which you can design. Suggest you contact Dr. Parveen Babbar. He is in JNU. He developed something in IGNOU when he was in IGNOU. He developed some add-ons for usage statics for use. Next question.
Thank you. Next question is from Madhav Pandey. What is the scope of research for libraries during lockdown period?
It is a great opportunity. It is a great opportunity, dear. You should learn and explore new avenues and also undertake various services. Like, I wish somebody should take up a project, impact of COVID-19 on, like I can give you several topics right now. Impact of COVID-19 in status of remote access availability in Indian libraries. Like somebody can focus on library, somebody can do it in ID library, somebody can focus on UC library, somebody can college libraries, research libraries, public libraries. So have an assessment of like how many are having. This can be a valuable data, like how and use of discovery services and survey what difficulty teachers are facing in their teaching, what difficulty students are facing in their learning during this pandemic situation. This is a great opportunity for all my library colleagues to really do the impact assessment of coronavirus on teaching and learning. And also, this is an impact assessment of remotely working, like how librarians are facing difficulties. It can be a story of librarians, how you are facing difficulty in remote working. All these things should be properly researched and number of opportunities. And this should be the topic for the research. We should not talk about theoretical topics. We should go a little innovative and new topics should be studied.
Thank you, sir. Braj Bhushan Khare, to what extent Koha may be helpful in developing digital library?
Koha can be helpful to some extent, like you can give the link to the URL link to your resources, but there are certain limitations. It is not a digital repository software, so there may be certain limitation. Definitely you can use if you have a small collection, but if you have a large, even you can develop a complete website using Koha. So Koha is an excellent software, but only thing is that how much you know about Koha, how you develop the website in it. You can give the complete website design on the home page of the Koha. But the electronic resource linking is possible, but how effective it is, I have not seen any library operational, big library operational using Koha as a digital repository software.
Question is from Devasis Bera. Enlistar change the validity period of user every year. How to manage this?
See, basically, this need to be discussed in InflimNet by the director, that when they subscribe, they sign a license agreement. I think this is another peculiar problem we are facing. We are subscribing resources in consortium, and this is the problem of all consortium. Most of these consortiums are not subscribing resources with perpetual access. So time when you are extending the term, the past years are not covered in that current subscription. So I think we should find out a way, we should develop a model, consortium model, where we should subscribe the resources with perpetuity. So the perpetual access to the last resources should be available. It's not that if you extend next few years, the publisher have their own policy. They can sign an agreement with you according to the money, and we should negotiate properly on that.
Yeah, Seema, can I ask one question?
Yeah. This is one more question from Sanmati Jain. Can one nation, one subscription policy be implemented for all academic and research libraries in India by MHRD? Does this idea work out practically?
No, I'm not in favor of having one nation, one subscription policy. See, we have a different type of organization. We have a different kind of clusters. See, we should do a certain kind of like, and there's a different ministries and different department, different bodies managing it. So either if we have a department of libraries, if you have a department of libraries under Ministry of Culture, and all libraries come under that. Once I propose to set up a bureau of libraries, like just like Finance Commission, we talked about Library Commission. So if we have such kind of possibilities of setting up a under the control of one ministry, then it is feasible. But having different ministries, libraries under different ministries, and having different bodies, it is an impractical idea. Like implement is somehow each source into become more complicated once we merge some test and other consortium. If it is only each source into for university, it could have been better, because IITs are having different department, universities are having different. IITs are very rich, the college library is very poor. So I think there's something. I believe there should be this rethinking over it. We should not have a one consortium only. There may be several consortium depending upon the authorities, funding agencies, and also the kind of subject coverage and types of institution.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Pathak, sir?
Doctor, I have one question.
Yes.
So this post-COVID era, now we all librarians and special institutions, now we fear, especially the library, we may face this budget crunch. So what tips you would like to give to the librarians to cope up with such challenge, considering the financial crunch?
See, no library is self-sufficient. Every library always has certain kind of resource crunch. Now, a good librarian learn how to manage it. So, there are various ways of dealing with it. First, convince the authorities to get more money. If it is not possible, then try to find out some other options. In CSIR, there is a corporate social responsibility. There are a lot of industry, there are corporate organizations, and public sector companies. They provide money for different activities. Librarians should learn how to use these earnings. And if you are an academic institute, your alumni can be the other source of information. You can contact your alumni, talk to them, and help convince them to invest some money. Apart from that, like I will give you an example. There is a university library in South Korea. I visited that National Library of South Korea, National University of South Korea. Your entire university is funded by friends of the university, mostly alumni and some public people also. I will give a very interesting example. One of the person, he was having a son, and his son was not very good in study. So he warned him that either you do some good thing or I will donate the entire money to the university. And he donated almost 90% of his money to that university.
Hello.
So there are a number of people who do social charity. And last thing which I recommend, there are a number of open access resources. We need to learn how to integrate those resources in our library resources. See, then I was asked to provide this book on French book from JNU. See, I look for Internet Archive, Hathi Trust. See, I can tell you, one or other place these resources are available. Only thing we need to learn how to explore these free public or free access or open access resources available all over the world. There are ways like ResearchGate or many things like I remember one of my colleagues, Shipra, she used to provide many articles which we were not subscribing from the authors directly. So I think we should learn how to like गरीबी होती है तो what we do एक रोटी से और प्याज से लोग खाना खा लेते हैं ना. So I think we should learn how to manage without money with minimum resources. We should never like we don't have. I have automated a library using Excel software. So we should not always think we should have high infrastructure, high money. You have to try for best, but if it is not there, should not stop your work. Try to find out ways and means to do it.
One more question I have, sir. Especially in abroad, this Sci-Hub, even now when they are negotiating with the publishers, they bring out this issue. But in our country, when we talk about Sci-Hub, we say even we should not send those articles by official email IDs and all those things. So how you see, sir, Sci-Hub in the overall context?
Okay, so there are two things which I can talk here. One is the Sci-Hub, another is the Plan S. Both the things really
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. Sir is sharing his PPT. Yeah, please.
Hello.
Prabhas sir, I can hear you.